At this moment, I'm standing inside the Tehelka office in South Delhi. It is here in this office for last 13 years, Tarun Tejpal, the founder of Tehelka, talked about free, fair and fearless reportage. Now at the fag end of these 13 years, it is he, Tarun Tejpal, who faces rape charges.
So for how long were they in the know? How long did they try to shield their top boss? On Wednesday evening, an email from Shoma Chaudhary, managing editor of Tehelka, went out to the magazine staff, mentioning an untoward incident, as a consequence of which editor-in-chief Tarun Tejpal would be recusing himself for the next 6 months.
The truth is that from the moment I got this complaint, which again contrary to the media has not been for many days, but actually only as of Monday this week, I have acted absolutely, wholly and solely driven by my desire to address a grieved journalist's sense of injury and to act in her interest. The moment I confronted Tarun about this very, very angrily, he had a different version of the account. Contrary to everything you've been saying in the media, I absolutely overrode his version and asked for a unilaterally unconditional apology from him. This was extended to the journalist within a day. She complained to me on a Monday. The unconditional apology was extended to her by Tuesday. Further to this, he stepped down because my sense was that regardless of the differing versions, whether it was consensual or non-consensual, as a leader of the institution, he had transgressed. And in addition to her, he had betrayed the faith of other journalists, so he stepped down. I sent this letter to people. As you know, it was leaked so instantaneously that further action was not possible in a measured way. To my understanding, because I did speak to the aggrieved journalist just before I sent the letters, she told me that this was something that showed her he was genuinely sorry for what had happened and that she felt no further need for vengeance, that she was driven by a need for justice and now needed to heal, which is why when it leaked, I would have phrased it differently, but because I was besieged by so many calls, I said that she was satisfied with it. It is only from television that I got to know that she was deeply disappointed by my response. Now that she is disappointed by my response, I have set up the committee, and the committee, now both versions of this incident will be before the committee. It will be an impartial, unimpeachable one.
The editor-in-chief of Tehelka described this untoward incident as a bad lapse of judgment. To those who hadn't been privy to the whispers circulating in Delhi, the incident didn't seem like a serious matter. But soon the rot was out in the open, exposing the dirty, hard reality of the dangerous corridors of urban offices.
Tarun Tejpal has decided what the punitive measures should be, and he has tried to kind of resolve the issue in that way, which is obviously causing a lot of protest. But having said that, I think the policy needs to be put into place where and here they were at fault because they didn't even have a committee. Okay? Now if they had a committee and if they had actually gone about the process the right way, maybe it could have been resolved and not, quote unquote hushed up, but maybe it could have been resolved to the satisfaction of the victim.
But this time, unlike many other occasions, the victim marshaled the courage to take on the high and mighty. She decided not to suffer Tejpal's unwanted attentions in silence. And she chose to rely on her organization to get her justice. She was sexually assaulted by the Tehelka editor-in-chief Tarun Tejpal, and she described her trauma to her managing editor. But only she was let down. The perpetrator became the judge, jury and accused all rolled into one. and prescribed himself a 6-month sabbatical as punishment.
Even so, the manner in which and the language in which the first statements came out of Tehelka were extremely presumptuous, and they did not show or demonstrate the kind of deep contrition that should have been foregrounded right away, even before any of these inquiries or committees that are being set up and rightly being set up were put into place. So I think they have unfortunately handled it very, very poorly.
The managing editor claimed the victim was satisfied. But clearly, the truth was far from that.
Give me the chance to speak to you as a journalist with all the facts. Of course, I've been in contact with her. I am not mad to say things without having been in touch with her. I do ask you to give me the dignity to speak to you guys as journalists. Please let me act correctly on it.
While there are larger lessons to be learned on the shocking case of sexual harassment that has come to light in Tehelka, what might really bring a larger change at this moment is greater sensitivity among each and every individual about sexual harassment, not just at workplaces, but across the society.
A young journalist had prized open the closet. Her role model and father figure chose to cover it up. This was no longer an internal matter. This was not a private affair. The incident had sent shockwaves across India.
No, but he said sorry. Hello.
But even more disturbing was the cover-up that followed.
It was touted to be the Think Fest, where big names from various spectrum came together to think over various issues. But instead, it became a nightmare for one of the employees of Tehelka magazine, where she was sexually harassed by former editor of Tehelka, Tarun Tejpal. The hotel in question, meanwhile, says that they have submitted all the proof and evidence to the Goa police, and now the ball is in the Goa police court. The Goa police, meanwhile, have started their investigation, have lodged an official FIR under sections 376 as well as 354, which deals with rape and outraging a woman's modesty.
Any information on crime has to be shared with the police. I don't think there is two different views on that. It's a law of the country. Let IO decide about the exact nature of crime of each one. But one thing I think is very sure, that it is Tejpal who is the culprit, and that girl, I cannot reveal her identity, is the victim.
But clearly a self-imposed exile was not punishment. The victim knew it, Tehelka knew it, and so did Tarun Tejpal. But this was not the first such case, and this will not be the last. In just the last 7 days, the legal fraternity has been rattled by 2 cases of sexual harassment against a very senior lawyer and a judge. In fact, just last year, 26-year-old Geetika Sharma hanged herself after being harassed by her boss and tormentor, Gopal Kanda.
As women increase in numbers in the workplace, I think you will find more such complaints coming to the fore. And I believe that this is really about strength in numbers, because I'm sure there were many incidents of sexual harassment in the past which have not been reported because women have remained silent because of the fear of losing their jobs. But today they are far more familiar, and they do understand, the sexual harassment policy, their rights to complain.
Many succumb to the pressures, forced to live with their trauma. Many crumble and end it by punishing themselves. But on more occasions than one, the real accused, the real perpetrators, go scot-free.